architects of your IPO. Okay, they are going to guide the company in this entire process. Okay, from the initial planning and finally getting listed on the exchanges. So in Zomato's case, we had Kotak Mahindra Bank, we had Morgan Stanley, and we had Credit Suisse as the leading banks that were involved. Okay, let me see if I have the prospectus of the company with me. Yes, I have it. So you can see here, this is the prospectus of Zomato Limited. And just look at the banks here. We have Kotak, Morgan Stanley, Credit Suisse as the global coordinators and book running lead managers, and then BofA Securities, that is Bank of America, and Citibank as book running lead managers. So let me also help you understand the concept. What is the role of a global coordinator? So these are basically going to oversee the entire process. Okay, your entire IPO process will be managed by global coordinators. Okay, so there are different types of investment banks that are associated in the process. So these are global coordinators. Then book running lead managers, or in short, book runners. These are your banks which are going to market your IPO. Okay, which are going to, I'll talk about how do they market. So they are going to publicize your company, your brand, your business, so that they can gauge more and more investors for this company. Okay, and in this case we have book running lead managers. In some cases, there might be some bank who is not a book runner but just a lead, a co-lead manager. So एक third category भी हो सकता है. Lead manager is not directly engaged into marketing per se, but there are certain banks, as I gave example of, let's say, Mr. Ratan Tata. So let's say there is some investment bank which is having very close ties with Mr. Ratan Tata. So Zomato will try to onboard that specific investment bank so that he can onboard Mr. Ratan Tata. Right. So similarly, there are so many, in big marquee investors out there. Okay. So let's say there is some investment bank which is working very closely with Mr. Azim Premji's family office, or, maybe who can onboard SoftBank, right? So there are certain investment banks who have very close ties with them. So these banks, who work as co-lead managers, they can onboard them using their network. Okay, so for their networking, we will onboard these investment banks. Okay. Can we get balance sheet on screen? Yes, absolutely. If it's a listed company, its financials are publicly available in the market. This is no more a secret, right? So if you would want to look for Swiggy, you will not find it now. But once the company gets listed, everything is publicly available. That is the meaning of a public company, right? So yes, of information on the public domain. In fact, now these companies, it is a mandatory thing for these companies to list, make these resources available on their website. So if you go to the investor relations section of the company website, you will find all the audited reports. Okay, so you can check it out there. Fine. So let me just give you a quick idea about the entire process. Okay, what do these banks do? So first thing is structuring the IPO. So how much shares to issue, how at what price to issue, and what should be the overall IPO size. That is called structuring. So that is the first step that investment banks are going to decide. Then once that has been decided, then they will go for valuation and pricing. Okay, so what should be the exact offer price? So for that, they are going to go for something that is called book building process. Okay, if you have heard of book building before. So book building is, they will, talk to different investors, and they will try to, gauge the demand that at a certain price, how many shares these investors are going to buy. Okay. So at different levels of price, they will have different, levels of demand for their shares. Okay. So that book building process ultimately helps them to come up with a, offer price. Fine. Do you know what was the offer price for Zomato? It was 76 rupees per share. Okay. Yes. Then the third step would be, marketing the IPO. So that is typically known as roadshow. So have you ever seen investment banks, putting up stalls on the roadside footpaths, pavements, and selling shares of, of companies that are about to go for an IPO? Have you seen such stalls? Yup. I was waiting for this yeses only. Some people have seen that. I don't know where. I have never seen that. So the name is a road show, but it doesn't mean that you're selling shares on the road. Okay. The name is, just an indicative that you are promoting your shares, okay, to the public. So this road show, is technically a meeting with the investor. Okay. You would meet some of the, large institutional investors, and yes, in some cases, some, retail investors as well, to gauge the demand to pitch, to pitch your company to these investors. Okay, so you will talk to them, and in the investment banking industry, they play very smart. They don't invite all the investors in one single place. Okay, so this is some, I will say, insider secrets. That is what investment bankers apply. कि वो एक जगह पे सबको नहीं बुलाते, that I'll invite everyone in one big hall and I'll just take a meeting. No, they will go specifically to these people. Okay, they will take the management along with them, so that they can share share any information that is required, and also to build credibility. And they will meet these large investors, and they will have these meetings. Why they don't invite all of them in one single place? Because what if someone stands up and asks some very difficult questions about the company which they are not able to answer then and there? So that is why they don't do this. Okay, because that can ruin the entire prospect, the entire, all the potential investors that are going to be there. Because yes, there are certain investor category of investors, which are very activist in nature. So that is why they don't do such kind of things. Okay. So that is called roadshow. Okay. Then investment banks also, there is one more role in terms of regulatory compliance. Okay, so they have to comply with the regulations of SEBI, right? So they will, the investment banks will keep everything in place, will check that everything is in place, and then they will file the DRHP, okay, the draft red herring prospectus with the SEBI. And then once the SEBI gives a nod, they are going to proceed with the IPO. Okay. And there is one more step involved, that is post IPO support. Okay, once the stock has been lifted, listed, the process doesn't end there, because they also have to go for post IPO mechanism. Have you ever heard of this concept called green shoe, green shoe stabilization? Okay, in your theory, if you have been a CS or a CA, you must have definitely heard of it, because I have read it twice. So basically, if after your shares gets listed, and if your shares starts to fall very rapidly, then it is going to be a disaster for the new investors. So for that not to happen, what investment bankers would do, they would buy the dropping shares, so that that falling price can be stabilized. Okay, so this entire mechanism is called green shoe stabilization, because it was first used in case of a company called Green Shoe Corporation in the US. Okay. So that is again taken care of by investment bankers. Okay. And this is very, very important. Okay. The right set of investment bankers is very, very important. And you are, you might be one of the person who will be, further working with these investment banks and helping these companies to get listed. So this is a very critical process. I think a couple of days back, Mr. Vijay Sekhar Sharma, right, from Paytm, he was very upset about that he chose the wrong set of investment bankers for going for an IPO. Okay. So, because a wrong decision can lead to a very big disaster. So, yes, all these steps we have already discussed, right? That is your entire IPO process. Okay.